Hey, what's up? This is Fantasy Fling with DFS Army, and we are doing a Battle Royale first look draft. We are going to hop into the Battle Royale lobby, 40K to first, week 12, taking our shot against 45,000 others in a draft. And right now, what we're going to do, just kind of give an overview of the slate, some game environments we may look to target this week, some players that, have great matchups, of course, some scroll down plays, potentially some guys that we can use to leverage the field who are going to be low owned in drafts. We could potentially get in the last round, maybe a little, overlooked by the field and can help us win the tournament, of course. And then we're going to do a draft as well as get a feel of ADPs as we start to get into the Battle Royale lobby. So, few game environments that stand out. Of course, as always, that anytime you get target the Cincinnati Bengals, first one on the board here, the Cincinnati Bengals defense been pretty poor across the board, poor against running backs specifically. So I believe poor against tight ends. I think at wide receiver they're kind of better for sure. So they're more of a run funnel and just like kind of middle of the field with tight ends. So Drake May is going to be in play, of course. They have that 28.7 implied team total. May has looked like one of the MVPs of the season. So, we're going right back to him. I think you can run him naked or you could stack him with Diggs. And, it sets up really well. I probably would avoid Diggs, when we look at the matchups and go to the tight end more, Hunter Henry, or just run May naked. And by the way, this is courtesy of Stat Rankings. Tons of really good metrics, but fantasy points against is one of the best I look at. On the other side, T. Higgins going to be jumping into an elevated role. So, T. Higgins is definitely going to be in play this week with Jamar Chase out for giving that the old Hawk Tua to Jalen Ramsey. He got suspended a game. So, yeah, I think T. Higgins is going to be in play. I'm out on Flacco. I'm not pushing that. I would more so be looking for like one-offs or little game stacks, little ping pong stacks like a Henderson, to Higgins, Henry to Higgins, something like that. And then, maybe a scroll down play that no one's on. Yoshi Voss. We've seen Yoshi Voss have some big games in the past. Typically, Jacekis done really well whenever Chase has been out. So, could this be a Jaceki game? He practiced this week, so he could potentially make a return. If he comes back, I think he would be a great leverage spot in the final round of your drafts. One spot that stands out to me before I forget, Baltimore, 29-point implied team total. Not so much on the Lamar Jackson spot, but maybe, actually – I did one draft earlier today, and he fell way past ADP. So if you get him in a spot like that, just unstacked, yeah. But I think this is a really good spot for Derrick Henry. Typically you want a running back that's in such a good spot like this, high implied team total, 14-point favorites at home. That's typically like a smash spot for Derrick Henry. The other game, couple other games that I'm really excited about. We got Indianapolis going on the road to Kansas City at Arrowhead. Kansas City now 5-5. They are in danger of missing the playoffs if they miss this game, mainly because Jacksonville has a 2-game lead on them now because they lost to Jacksonville. So this is a very important game for Kansas City. Their back's against the wall. I think we're going to get the best version of Mahomes. So I'd be in on Mahomes this week. I love Rashee Rice. Stud coming off a dud, bad week against the Broncos last week. This looks like a good bounce back spot. Obviously, he's going to get the Sauce Gardner treatment. So, tougher matchup, but I think Rashee Rice will be okay. And then obviously, Worthy's going to be a guy. We saw it last week. The big plays are there. He was open for a touchdown, that deep threat that you can get in the last round of your draft. But Mahomes missed him. But I potentially going back to that. They've been attempting those deep balls. It's just a matter of Mahomes hitting them. And then Kelsey, I think Kelsey is in a really decent spot this week. Yeah, one of the best matchups on paper. Actually, it's third best matchup on paper. At tight end, Kelsey has a good matchup against Indianapolis. So yeah, I think you can definitely stack Mahomes with Kelsey, or just if you miss out on Trey McBride, I think Warren and Kelsey, those guys are more or less going to be the next best available off the board. Now, a game environment that is really kind of starting to stand out to me. It's looking like Jackson Dart will play. So I like this spot. I really like the Detroit side. You can run on the Giants. You can throw on the Giants. I think this is a game I want to leave drafts with Detroit Lions players this week. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. Laporta's out, so I think it's going to be more condensed. I think it's going to be more Amon-Ra, more Jamison. So I like golf doubles with both of those guys in, traditional DFS contests. On Battle Royale, the doubles are harder to pull off. We really don't see it win at a high rate. So I'd be more inclined to just play Gibbs in some lineups. If you can draft him in the first round, or just mix it up with Goff, stack him with Amon-Ra, stack him with Jamison Williams. I'm fine playing those guys as one-offs in this spot. Dart, I think he's a guy. Well, look, maybe we can get good value on Jackson Dart. He runs around a lot. He's had a really good floor. So I'm not so worried about stacking Dart. I think you run Dart by himself and maybe have an Amon-Ra bring back, a Gibbs bring back, and a Jamison Williams bring back. In fact, that may be the best way to play it, as opposed to stacking with Goff, because we've seen such a good floor from Dart this year when he's healthy. And then Jacksonville, Arizona. This game has a pretty good total here, 47.5, 25-point team total for Jacksonville. It's interesting because it's like, well, what do you do with that? Oh, maybe Jacoby Myers, maybe Parker or Washington, and we get Brian Thomas. Are we getting Brian Thomas back this week? If we are, I would like him. On the other side, I'm more interested in that. We're getting Trey McBride has just been absolutely smashing. He's now going in the first round. And at the end of the first round, and I think it's totally acceptable. I think he's worth it. So I would take Trey McBride there. Michael Wilson, another week of Marvin Harrison Jr. out. I would go back to Michael Wilson, depending on his ADP. Brissett has had a good floor. He could be a late round guy. I'm interested to check ADPs on that. And then Bam Knight could potentially be like a last round play. If you get one running back early, and then you kind of want to stack up at wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback and get your final running back last. I think Bam Knight would have some consideration with Amari DiMercado out. I think he's the better running back between him and Michael Carter. So, this game, decent. It's not a game that, I want to stack up every which way like this Giants and Detroit game, but definitely pieces from that. And then last, the Eagles versus the Cowboys. This is a game that I really like, mainly because mainly the Philly side, Dallas. Yeah, sure. I mean, we've seen them score, but it is Philly. Philly has a really good defense. I think I'm more inclined to play the Philly side. It's just kind of as like one-offs, maybe Saquon Barkley, maybe Devonta Smith. I don't really trust the offense enough with the offensive line, like Lane Johnson being out, for them to really provide a lot as far as stacks go. But this is a 25.5 implied team total. Dallas is a team. We've seen it all year. You can throw against Dallas. You can run against Dallas. And I don't think they have the best pass rush. So if they can protect Jalen Hurts, if they can run block a bit, this could be a Barkley game. This could be a Devonta Smith game. So, and who knows? Maybe you do stack Hurts with Devonta Smith and whatnot. So let's hop into a draft. See how long the wait is. We'll look at ADPs a little bit. Okay, so right away, Jonathan Taylor. the 1-1 more or less, no surprise. Well, he will be if we're picking first, that's who we will be taking. Even in a tougher matchup against Casey, that's kind of just what you have to do. Then Gibbs, JSN. Gibbs is in a fantastic spot this week against the Giants. So, that's honestly one of the best matchups on paper. So I love that. JSN, same thing. Great matchup going against Tennessee. We haven't seen a couple like huge games from him recently, but I'm willing to go back to him in this spot. I think maybe, this could be the game that, we see him smash once again. Bijan, I mean, what sucks about this is the team total, the game total, it's low. We look at projections, though. Bijan Poppin is the top guy against the New Orleans Saints. This is courtesy of DFS Army's Domination Station. By the way, guys, if you like these Battle Royale first look drafts, let me know in the comments. And hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more content coming your way. So let's see how this draft board falls. Bijan, yeah, I would take Bijan. I think with Kirk Cousins being so terrible that they are going to lean on Bijan Robinson through the run, through the pass. So I think he can get there with volume. So Gibbs went first. Jonathan Taylor went second. Do I take Bijan here? I'm kind of leaning towards yes. But also, I just want to get the wide receiver because if I get JSN, there's some backs that I can get on the way back that I really do like this week in good spots. So, wow, that might be the earliest I've seen Trey McBride go all year. Love that, though. 1-4. Then Bijan, Amon-Ra, Travion Henderson. I'm a little worried about him at that ADP with – wow. And then it looks like Saquon made it back to me. I think I just got to take him. I'm a little worried at Travion at that ADP with Stevenson likely to come back. And then, we went double quarterback here with Lamar Jackson. So Barkley came back to me. I was set on taking Derrick Henry in a smash spot, as big favorites at home against, Jets run D that you can, I don't think they're not very good. They're just, outside the top 10 in run defense as a target. They're, about average. So I think that would have been a good spot for Henry. Let's see if he makes it back. I kind of doubt it. So let's look at maybe some other players. Yeah, there he went. I could potentially it's looking like I'll get either T. Higgins or Rashee Rice. I'm good with either of these guys. I don't want to reach on a running back. I think I'll just wait. I don't want to take Tyler Warren just yet. Yeah, so there went Rashee Rice. I will take T. Higgins. I could potentially get Hunter Henry and do a little ping pong stack with T. Higgins in that New England and Cincinnati game. I got both of my wide receivers. So now, we start thinking about, well, what do we want to do at quarterback? What do we want to do at tight end? Who do we want to target for our last running back? I'm back on the clock again. That's a tough one. I thought about taking Mahomes, but I don't really want to take Mahomes without like one of Kelsey or Rice. And I already took two wide receivers, so maybe. And Mahomes went the next pick for Rashee Rice. That's perfectly fine. I think. What was I saying earlier? We could do like Jackson Dart. I think we can run Jackson Dart naked. Definitely, he's one of those. Quarterbacks, if he gets taken early, I'll get him in the last round. If he gets taken, I'll go with like Sam Darnold. No one wants to take Javonte. That's quite interesting. So I got to take another running back. Do I want to take? That's a tough call. I think I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins against the Raiders. I mean, I think that's a pretty good matchup for him. They got Shador Sanders. I expect them to run the ball a lot, and we've seen Quinshawn Judkins have some pretty big games this year. As much as I want to take Dart, I think I didn't put any correlation in this lineup. So I think the play here is to just take Sam Darnold. Had I taken, and that's the thing, I wouldn't want to have taken Javonte and Saquon Barkley in the same lineup. I took Kelsey because I just thought he was the best player on the board in that range. And with that, I didn't get the Higgins Henry correlation that I was looking for. And one of the things I found looking past Battle Royale winners for the past 2 years, 2023 and 2024, is it's okay definitely to not sack your quarterback, but if you don't sack your quarterback, you need some type of correlation. Like 95% of the winning lineups had some type of correlation. If it was a naked quarterback build, then you had like a running back and a wide receiver, right? You had like Saquon Barkley and CeeDee Lamb on the other side, or George Pickens, something like that. So because I wasn't able to get that secondary correlation, that was the reason for bypassing on Jackson Dart and locking up the Sam Darnold to JSN stack. This build could definitely be unique. I think Sam Darnold probably won't be drafted in a lot of drafts. When we're looking at it like Goff, Dart, Brissett, like Daniel Jones, all these guys. Other than that, didn't get like any crazy value. Saquon fell a little bit. So yeah, I think there's the possibility that this is a unique lineup. But let's kind of go back through, see the draft board, and we'll take a final look at ADPs. So, CeeDee Lamb, I think if there's a Dallas Cowboy that can overcome the tough matchup, it is going to be Lamb. Hopefully, they're not playing in Vegas this week, so he won't be at the casino puking at 7:30 in the morning and then get held out for a coach's decision. I don't know if y'all saw that, but that was on the social media platforms today. And, that's not a concern, obviously, going against Philly. He can play slot. He can play inside and outside, so he can, they can move him around to get away from a tough matchup. So I think CeeDee Lamb's a guy that if I miss out on JSN and Amon-Ra, I think of the top 2 wide receivers this week. I want to take some shots on like CeeDee Lamb, like Rice, Higgins in this range. Definitely want to spread out exposures. Brock Bowers, it sucks because we know the ceiling is there. And the Browns, the Browns do have a good defense, but it's Brock Bowers. So we know the ceiling is there with Brock Bowers, and he's worth a shot. I just wouldn't probably overexpose yourself to him. Diggs, it's a good matchup, a pretty good matchup against Cincinnati. I think it's a better matchup for the tight ends and the running backs, though. So, yeah, if you're doing Drake May builds, you get some Diggs. But as we know from week to week, it's very hard to nail down the wide receiver. So I don't know how much Stephon Diggs I will have this week in drafts. Tyler Warren, this is it's a pretty good spot as far as a game environment wise, but also not the best matchup. KC has a good defense. So I would probably, have it McBride, Bowers, Kelsey, then Warren. Now, Jalen Hurts, again, he's one of those guys, tush push, he can get there, specifically against a Dallas team that gives up a ton of points to opposing quarterbacks. It's actually the best matchup on the slate. So we look back at this Diggs is probably one of the most undervalued guys right now going at the 3-4 turn. I like that. And then Olave, sure. I mean, I guess it's a divisional matchup. They get a little crazy. But I'd rather take shots on, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown. I just think they have more of a ceiling, than a Tyler Shuck-led team going in a low game total, right? Like going against an Atlanta team that can rush the passer. So Obviously, I took Judkins where I did. ETN, he's losing the snaps to Tootin. If Tootin doesn't play, he had a little questionable tag, then yeah, I would be all in on ETN. Other than that, I don't really love it. It's an okay spot. If you're doing a lot of these drafts and you can get him in the last round, sure, why not? Other than that, don't love it. I don't know. Zay Flowers, every once in a while, he'll just pop out of the blue. So if you got Lamar and you want to stack him up, great. Otherwise, I would not draft Zay Flowers at all. Just way too inconsistent. There's just really no floor. And then, he's where he's going. It's not even a guy that's going to be low owned. Maybe he will be. I'll have to, see his ADP as I do more of these drafts. But in this draft, he went in the 5th round. So I'm guessing, he's going to be drafted in most every draft. Now, these next two guys here, and then, gosh, how far has Justin Jefferson fell? Like, if we're going to get Justin Jefferson in the last round, I will be on this for sure. It's a tough matchup. It's a low team total. McCarthy's been a disappointment, but the value you can't deny, he's a first round talent going in the 6th round. But I don't want to get in my head of myself here. Michael Wilson, Jameson Williams. I love these plays, specifically Jameson Williams this week in that game environment against the Giants. Michael Wilson's a good play too against Jacksonville. Just don't love it quite as much as JMO. But yeah, I think both of those guys will be guys that I will be looking to target at the end of drafts. Love that spot there. Yeah, and let's see some other guys that kind of went undrafted. So this draft, Chase Brown went undrafted. He's not going to be picked in every draft. That's crazy. DFS Army, we have him right now with, the 5th highest projection. So his volume has been crazy. He's averaged 25 and a half opportunities both games with, Perrine out. So I think that's a great one. Samaje out. That's a great spot for him. Kenneth Walker, this is actually a good spot going against Tennessee for Kenneth Walker. This could be an explosion spot. People aren't really on him because usage has been, suspect at best. They're giving Charbonnet goal line carries, but I think he's due for one of those games where we see him break off multiple ones. It's going to happen at some point. This could potentially be the matchup against Tennessee as big favorites against a dead Tennessee team. So I definitely will be forcing in some Kenneth Walker in my drafts, especially because he's going to be undrafted in some drafts. Hunter Henry, I ended up going early on Kelsey, but part of me is like, maybe I should have just waited, got the correlation with Higgins, with Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, it's a good matchup this week. High implied team total. He's a guy I want shots of. Some other, potential leverage plays, like why is Rome Odunze not being drafted in every draft? They have the best matchup on the slate. Pittsburgh allows the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. So, yeah, you can stack him up, Caleb. So that might be, if this is going to be the type of value that we're going to see, that might be my favorite stack of the week in a fantastic spot with both Odunze and Caleb going undrafted in this draft. So we know that's going to be a unique combo this week, the one that I would be all over. Genty, let's go look at projections here. It's a tougher matchup for sure. But, the 6th highest projection on the slate currently. 2 bad teams. I wouldn't be surprised to see either running back, Judkins, who I drafted, or Genty, run wild against another. Pittman, good scroll down that you can get, potentially leverage the field. Same with Xavier Worthy. I talked about him earlier. Alec Pierce, big, deep threat. Game environment of the week. Guys, Emmanuel Wilson. We'll kind of finish this up here. Emmanuel Wilson. This could potentially be one of the keys to the slate. I'm not sure if Josh Jacobs is going to play this week. If he doesn't play, we definitely would be jamming in Emmanuel Wilson. If you can do a draft early on in the week and you can get Emmanuel Wilson, he's going to end up being, it would probably be a unique combo because he's going to get steamed up by the end of the week if for some reason that we hear Josh Jacobs is out. Obviously, it's risky when we don't know Jacobs is out, but if you're doing a lot of these, it's definitely worth the type of leverage, and then you could do a swap to, a David Montgomery and Alvin Kamara type thing. Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, here's another guy. It's kind of setting up that Jaylen Warren's not going to play. So Kenneth Gainwell really going undrafted. The more I look at this, the more I'm feeling like there's leverage to be had here. You can get Kenneth Gainwell late. You can maybe load up everywhere else, get your last running back late with Kenneth Gainwell. Maybe you could double tap even Emmanuel Wilson. But if not, you don't want to wait that long. Like Walker's a guy they can get in the 5th, or Chase Brown. And then, you get one of these Gainwell, I'd say definitely more likely to play and be the starter. And then Emmanuel Wilson could as well. So a lot of leverage to be had there. That's going to wrap this up. Of course, DFS Army subscribers, tomorrow my cheat sheet will be dropping for these Battle Royale drafts. So keep an eye out for that. And let's win some money this week. We will see you all on the next one. Take care, everybody.